Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. Today we're reacting to the truth about Michael Jordan's 1988 DPOY season. As you can tell by the title, I'm a LeBron fan, started watching ball around 2010, never did my due diligence to learn about the greats of the game, so I'm going back in time. Starting with Michael Jordan because I feel like the obvious place to start. I have, at this point, kind of switched over to being like, alright, Jordan's the GOAT. There's still a few itty bitty things that kind of give me a little pause, especially with all the controversial takes that people have, and this is one of the biggest controversial ones, and I mentioned it in a video and people told me to check out more information on it. It's the truth about Michael Jordan's 1988 DPOY season. There's rumors that his stats were inflated that year so that he would win it, and I don't know, man. I don't know, but this one seems like a very trustworthy one. It's a guy with a bunch of subs, a lot of views on this one. He said he did a little he did a whole deep dive on this, and I trust him, man. I trust him. So let's check out Johnny Arnett, the truth about the DPOY season, and hey, we'll learn from it, you know. Cool little intro. Okay, Johnny, I see you.
To many people, Michael Jordan is not only the greatest player of all time, but he's an athlete with a perfect legacy. He was dominant, productive, and the very definition of a winner. His finals record is a spotless 6-0 with 6 finals MVPs to back it up.
This sounds like every one of my comment sections.
He's iconic, stylish, charismatic, and ultimately the standard of basketball excellence.
I agree with all
all
of
that
that.
being said, many have grown weary of the idolization of Michael Jordan. His reputation and his legacy is so pristine that some seem determined to find and exploit his faults, thus bringing him back to the level of the competition.
It's so toxic.
First, they went after his era, claiming that he played against plumbers and accountants. After that failed to sway the masses, they went after
We done with the 90s. It was such a dumb thing.
his left hand. And once again, after that trend wore off, a new critique arose. Now, they're going after his defensive reputation and examining the legitimacy of his defensive accolades and statistics. It all started with this article that I'm sure many of you have read at this point. It's titled, "A Closer Look at Michael Jordan's 1988 DPOY Award Raises Questions About Its Validity. Has LeBron James Been Chasing a Ghost?"
Now, y'all told me that LeBron's camp was the one that put this out. Tom Haberstroh. We're gonna find out.
The article was written by a man named Tom Haberstroh,
Haberstroh.
and he makes a lot of claims in this lengthy piece. So what we first need to know before I dig into the details is, who is Tom Haberstroh?
Yeah.
Well, he's an NBA analyst, a podcaster, and a sports writer who began covering the NBA in 2013. Primarily, he's an analytics nerd, and a guy who holds the value of statistics above all else. To a certain degree, I respect him for his analytical insight, because he was a guy who was truly ahead of the curve. Before Steph Curry truly broke out as an MVP-level player, Tom Haberstroh was preaching the message that the NBA needed to be shooting more three-point shots. After some time, the league finally evolved into what Haberstroh had envisioned. He's a guy who's so committed to statistics that he'll even go against conventional basketball wisdom if it contradicts his numbers.
Fair enough.
For example, Haberstroh famously argued with Tracy McGrady on ESPN about how Kobe Bryant was not one of the most clutch players in the league. He's also written entire articles
I'm gonna have to check that out because I disagree with that.
talking about how unintelligent heat check shots are and that no one should be taking them. As you can see, he's pretty prone to making hot takes if his numbers warrant it. Now, getting back to the article at hand, Haberstroh claims that Michael Jordan's defensive numbers were not only inflated, but they were completely fabricated due to an agenda to get Jordan the Defensive Player of the Year award in 1988.
That's a bold claim.
You see, as Haberstroh correctly points out, Michael Jordan did not make the NBA's All-Defense team the previous season, and it was actually Michael Cooper who won the Defensive Player of the Year award in 1987. Both of these outcomes infuriated Michael Jordan, to the point that he wanted to make a statement with his defensive abilities in the 87 to 88 season. Allegedly, Jordan wasn't doing it alone, as the Bulls' official statistician was apparently boosting MJ's numbers by giving him extra blocks and steals on a regular basis. Now, for long
Home stocks per 36 minutes, 5.5. Road stocks per 36 minutes, 3. It's a 182% boost. Okay. But I'm also seeing Mark Eaton, 159% boost. Alvin Robertson, 153 for Ben. Jaren Jackson, 150. Do people just play better at home? Is that what's going on?
Longtime basketball historians, the suggestion of this isn't necessarily anything new. For a long time, there have been narratives about NBA stars of the 80s and 90s getting home court treatment where their numbers are artificially inflated by biased statisticians. This has been a claim against the all-time leader in assists, John Stockton, for many years at this point.
Yeah.
Famously, Nick Van Exel once recorded 23 assists in a single game, while playing for the Lakers in Los Angeles. But after further examination, it appears the actual assist total should have been closer to 17.
Wow.
But apparently, this wasn't just any ordinary homebrew stat keeping for Jordan. But the article claims that not only did MJ have significantly greater defensive numbers at home, but it was the greatest margin of any Defensive Player of the Year winner in NBA history.
Okay, I see.
I gotta be honest, when I first read this home versus road production differential, I wasn't too moved. During the late 80s, Chicago was a very young team, who fed immensely off of the energy of their home crowd. Like most of the league at that point, they were simply a much better team at home than on the road. So of course, their best player stats are gonna look better when they're playing in front of their home crowd.
I feel that.
Regardless, the numbers were suspicious enough to lead Tom to investigate just how legitimate Jordan's defensive numbers were at home. Habistro claimed that he reached out to someone who preserved a collection of rare and historic NBA games. Tom was able to get 6 of the Bulls' regular season home games from that season, and he claims that he watched them in their entirety while doing his own stat keeping, and he said that the revelations were dramatic. According to Tom, Jordan only had an actual total of 12 steals in the 6 games, despite the fact that the box scores indicate that he had a total of 26 in that time frame.
28, my bad. Dude, 16 extra steals awarded to him?
You heard that correctly. Apparently, MJ's steals were more than double what his actual total should have been.
Show me the footage.
But here's the thing. We're just supposed to take his word for it. Habistro never posted the games or the highlights of the contest that he claimed to have watched and tracked statistically.
Okay.
Everybody's been debating his findings from these
Even though 5 games is a stupidly small sample size, name the games and share the film. Fair.
6 games all over the internet.
No evidence, but some dudes just wrote something. Watch the games and you'd know MJ was a top league defender, especially that year. He had with the team he had and has always competed, even the finals. I'm sorry, I can't read.
But pretty much no one has been able to
So he's admitting that they have tapes now, and we just need to find out when will he release the tape.
see the footage.
This is like the files, dude, the Epstein files. Release
Jordan
them.
fans are constantly coming to MJ's defense, while Jordan's critics are quick to agree with Habistro, despite the fact that almost no one has seen any visual footage of the article's claims.
Yeah, give me evidence,
Up to this
dude.
point, I haven't seen a single
Hey, y'all in the comments said there's evidence that's disproved it. Hopefully this video is the evidence I need.
analyst or YouTuber break down the actual footage and show the truth about these 6 games. But that is where this video comes in. I was determined to get to the bottom of this and show the actual footage to my viewers. Listed on the screen are the 6 games that Tom talks about in his article.
Yeah.
In order to find these games, I had to scour the internet. Unfortunately, none of these 6 games could be found in their entirety on YouTube.
Bruh.
So I'm out of luck, right? Wrong. That's when I found this website. It's called usasportsondvd.com. Essentially, it's this massive database of NBA games. On this site, you're able to search for specific games in NBA history with their search engine. And when you find the games you want, you can offer a trade for those games.
Okay.
It's essentially a hub for basketball superfans who want to preserve history. A link can be found to this page in the video's description and in the pinned comment.
That's dope.
I looked up the 6 games that Habistro talked about, and sure enough, they were there in their fullness. All I had to do was request them, and then they got sent to me, and I watched them closely in their entirety,
Wow.
and did the stat keeping on my own.
Let's go,
And
dude.
now I'm ready to tell you and show you
Big shout out to this man for doing all the research.
the truth about these games. Now, before I start analyzing these games and showing you the footage, we first have to establish what constitutes a block and what constitutes a steal. Because if there's anything I've learned over the last couple of weeks, it's that a lot of people don't understand the definitions of these stats. Understanding these definitions will be of the utmost importance if we're going to accurately assess Jordan's actual statistics. First, what is the definition of a block? Well, according to the official NBA rulebook, a blocked shot is credited when a player deflects the course of a field goal attempt by an opponent and the shot is not made. A shot can be considered a block even if the ball was not in flight before it was being blocked. So to paraphrase for simplicity, if MJ gets a piece of the ball and it doesn't go in, it's a block. This is important to remember because Michael Jordan contested a lot of shots, and in many cases, it was extremely difficult to tell if he got a piece of the ball on a contest, especially when we're looking at 1980s tapes that look like it was filmed using a sweet potato. I'll give my honest opinion on MJ's block totals, but as you'll see shortly, it's up to interpretation in some cases. Now, what is the definition of a steal is a bit more cut and dry. According to the official NBA rulebook, a steal is credited to a player that legally takes the ball away from an opponent, intercepts a pass, or otherwise obtains possession on the ball following an opponent's turnover, providing the ball has remained in bounds and the clock has not stopped. If a player deflects a pass or dribble and controls his deflection either away from an opponent or towards a teammate, resulting in eventual possession for the defense, the player causing the deflection is credited with the steal.
Gotcha.
Again, that last detail is extremely important. If a ball is deflected, it's not necessarily the player who gathered it who gets the steal, but it's the one who initially deflected it.
Gotcha.
So now that we understand the definitions, let's get into it. The first of the 6 games was on November 20th, 1987 against the Atlanta Hawks. According to the official box score, MJ had 4 blocks and 4 steals. For both blocks and steals, I will be categorizing them as quote definitive and as quote possible, which is the category of the ones I don't count but can be debated.
I respect that.
Here is Jordan's definitive blocks. This is the first.
Clear block.
This is the second.
Clear block, I think.
And this is the third.
It's kind of hard to tell. Yeah, that was clear.
Now for the ones that were possibly blocks. He might have got a piece of this first one. The second one occurred as the foul was committed, so that typically doesn't count.
Ooh.
The third one, he might have got a piece, but it's tough to tell.
Okay.
Now for Jordan's definitive steals.
Yeah, that's
Pretty
hard to tell,
straightforward.
man. Not gonna lie.
And that's all the definitive steals I saw for Jordan
Oh,
in this
wow.
game. He had a lot of deflections where the Hawks kept possession, and he forced a lot of bad passes and traveling violations, but those are not technically supposed to count as steals. Now here is Jordan's possible steal, and in my opinion, this shouldn't count, because he never established possession before losing it out of bounds.
Fair.
So now let's recap. The box score said that Jordan had 4 steals and 4 blocks. At most, he had 2 steals and 6 blocks.
Wow.
But by my sincerely
So you gave him more blocks.
honest count, he just had 1 steal and 3 blocks,
Okay, definitive. Okay.
which is well short of his box score total.
Agreed.
Now let's move on to Game 2. This was on January 5th, 1988 against the Indiana Pacers. According to the box score, Jordan had a whopping 4 steals and 5 blocks. This was the first definitive block.
Clear
And that
block.
was the only definitive block.
Tough.
This was his possible block.
Oh, it's so hard to tell.
Now here's the definitive steal,
Yeah.
and here's his possible steal. I didn't count this one for MJ because although he's the assigned defender, it doesn't look like he ever gets a piece of it before
No.
it ends up in Dave Corsine's hands.
He didn't.
So to recap, based on the quote official stats, Jordan had 4 steals and 5 blocks. But based on my viewing, at most, he had 2 and 2.
Oh,
and
wow.
by my actual count, he only had 1 of each.
Oh, man.
That is a jarring gap from the box score.
Yeah,
We're only
man.
2 games into Tom Habistro's 6-game sample, and things are already looking pretty bad for MJ. Now let's look at the third game, which was 2 days later against the Denver Nuggets. Allegedly, MJ had 6 steals and 4 blocks on this night. Here's the definitive blocks.
Clear block. Okay. I see it. I see the vision. Yeah. I mean, that's a
Here's
lot
the
of blocks.
possible blocks.
He can test everything, dude. Oh my gosh. Yeah, these are so hard to tell, man.
Now the definitive steals.
He can test everything. Yeah, he got the deflection. Definitely got the deflection on that one.
And possible steals.
So
to recap, 6 and 4
Yeah,
in the box
I
score.
can see that as a
I have
steal.
3 steals and 6 blocks at the most, and my actual count is 2 steals and 4 blocks.
Hmm.
So the blocked shots are actually correct in this instance, but the steals appear to be grossly inflated. They're
Yeah.
tripled to be precise. The fourth game was on January 16th, 1988 against the Detroit Pistons. Fun fact, a giant brawl broke out in this random regular season game between the Pistons and the Bulls, because of course it did.
Why is it
The
always
box
the
score said that
Pistons?
MJ had 4 steals and 4 blocks on this evening. Here are the definitive blocks.
Bing. I like that little bing. Dude, this is so well edited. Big
Here's the
shout
possible
out
block.
to this guy. That was tough.
Here's the definitive steal,
Yeah.
and here's the possible steal.
I think that
The
counts.
stat sheet said that there was 4 steals and 4 blocks. At most, he had 2 and 4, and by my honest count, he had 1 and 3. Even this steal by Rory Sparrow should have gone to the box score, but when we take a look, you'll see that Sparrow had no steals tallied.
Wow.
And this one should have been obvious.
They
On to
did him
Game 5.
dirty.
This was on February 15th, 1988 against the
I think this can go both ways, right? Because if they clearly missed that one, could they have missed another? Like, could they have missed some of Jordan's steals, some of his blocks? I don't know, man.
Atlanta Hawks.
Humans
The
are
box score
fallible.
says that MJ had 5 steals and 2 blocks. So let's take a look. The definitive blocks.
Boink.
This is the possible block, but I personally wouldn't count it since it occurred during the foul. There was no definitive steals, but here's the possible steals. At first glance, this first one looks like it possibly could have gone to MJ, but if you slow it down, you'll see that the Bulls' Mike Brown actually deflected it first, meaning it should be his steal regardless of the fact that MJ gathered it.
Dude, if I'm the person sitting at the scores table watching that, it's so hard to tell.
But when you look at the box score, you'll see that Mike Brown suspiciously had 0 steals. The Bulls were unable to maintain possession on the second one where MJ tries to save it, so there's no clear steal here either. Let's recap. Box score says 5 steals and 2 blocks. At most, there was 2 steals and 2 blocks. And by my actual count, there was 0 steals and 1 block,
Wow.
making this potentially the most egregious stat keeping
5 steals when he thinks that there was 0?
of any game yet.
Wow.
Now for Habistro's 6th and final game. This one was on March 18th, 1988 against the Boston Celtics. The box score said that MJ had 5 steals and 1 block. So let's
Bro, NBA the king of getting 5 steals, huh?
proceed with the definitive blocks.
Clear, very clear.
Now the possible block,
Oh, those are too
the
tough,
definitive
dude.
steals,
Because he can test everything. How can you really tell if he got a finger on it?
and lastly, the possible steals. Notice how each of these possible steals were all deflected by Jordan's teammates,
Yeah.
meaning they should get the stat. But the only way MJ reaches his total of 5 steals is if you count all of these towards MJ instead.
So the stat keepers were giving Jordan's teammates steals over him if he was near the ball.
Recapping the 6th game, the box score said 5 steals and 1 block.
That's tough.
At most, he had 5 steals and 2 blocks.
Okay.
And my actual count is 2 steals and 1 block.
Wow.
So now that we've completed Habistro's 6-game sample, what is the data?
I'm genuinely curious how y'all feel about this, because I've told y'all I'm a Braun fan, but I'm trying to be impartial with this because I'm just trying to learn. Like, this doesn't sway me one way or another.
Tell us. Well, according to Tom's article, MJ's combined box scores indicate that he had a total of 28 steals and 20 blocks. But Habistro said that he got 12 steals, and I gotta be honest, I think even that is generous. According to my actual count, 7 steals and 16 blocks.
Wow.
Even if you count all of the possible steals and all the possible blocks throughout these 6 games, the total comes out to just 16 steals and a slightly higher 22 blocks. Without a shadow of a doubt, these 6 games were horrifically tracked by the Bulls statistician in a way that absolutely supported MJ's case for the Defensive Player of the Year award. Now, I could simply end the video there, saying that Tom Habistro was right, the footage proves it, and now we can all put an asterisk on MJ's lone DPOY. But something still wasn't sitting right with me. I thought to myself, why did Tom Habistro pick these 6 games specifically? Sure, they were all home games that were tracked by the team's statistician, but they had a whopping 41 home games that season. And he just happens to pick these 6 games that span over a 5-month stretch? Seems odd to me. Then I thought about the nature of this article. How he literally mentions LeBron James in the title, at the beginning of the article, and in his closing thoughts.
Shows bias.
Then I started doing the math. The article seems like it's oozing with bias to diminish Jordan and elevate LeBron James. I genuinely considered, was Clutch Sport funding this article? If Tom wanted to make an article to belittle Jordan and support James, then he would aim for the most egregious examples of bad stat keeping that he could possibly find.
True.
Which then made me think, did he cherry pick these games? Is it possible that Tom watched a lot more games than he said he did?
Okay,
and
Tom.
he only just grabbed a, quote, sample of the most egregious examples?
Okay, Tom.
Of course it's possible. So this realization meant one thing for me.
You sneaky, huh?
I had to watch more games.
Oh,
but this time, it was of my own random assortment. And if Jordan's numbers were actually similar to the box score, then that would probably tell me what I needed to know about Habistro's motive and tactics. Listed on the screen is the games I picked, and I selected these because they were all home games for the Bulls during the 87-88 season, and Jordan had some especially impressive defensive numbers during these contests. The first game was actually the first game of the regular season against the Philadelphia 76ers. This situation was especially interesting to me because if the Bulls statistician had an agenda to inflate Jordan's stats in order to get him the DPOY, you would think that they would start that process off with the very first game of the year. According to the box score, Jordan had a massive defensive performance of 6 steals and 4 blocks. Here's the footage of the blocks.
Homeboy contests everything.
Here's the footage of the possible blocks.
Hard to tell. Because the ball got to the rim still, you know what I mean? That one felt
Here's the
pretty
steals.
legit. Clear, yeah. Beautiful dunk. Very clear there. Okay, is Tom about to get exposed? Wow, he might. Dude, Jordan's literally flying everywhere. 5. 6 steals? This guy's crazy.
And here's a possible steal.
Yeah, that was kind of hard.
Based on the footage, it's clear that MJ had at least 3 blocks and a pretty definitive total of 6 steals.
Pretty
Fun
close.
fact, all 6 of those steals came in the first half. Now it has to be said, we quickly noticed that
All of them came in the first half?
this is a dramatic difference from the games that Habistro tallied,
Correct.
as the box score seems almost completely identical to what actually happened on the court. So let's press on. The next game was on December 12th, 1987 against the Houston Rockets, and Jordan's stats were 5 steals and 5 blocks.
Pretty intense.
Here are the blocks.
Clear. Bing! Bing! I love the little things. Bings! Hey man, this guy's contesting everything. That's tough. That was tough. That one's also tough. How do these stat keepers do it, man? It's so hard to tell.
The steals.
No idea, bro. Couldn't even see that one. The homeboy said it's definitive. I take his word for everything. Trust this man with my life. He'd be my lawyer if I ever went to court.
And the possible steals. Again, this is almost completely accurate. My final count was 4 steals and 5 blocks, but you could really make the argument that he had as many as 8 blocked shots. It's so hard to tell with these lone angles and with the low quality footage. So again, I could easily see people disagreeing on the final tally. Regardless, both of these games are more accurate than Havistro's batch. My third game was on December 22nd against the Dallas Mavericks.
Okay.
In this contest, he allegedly had 4 steals and 2 blocks. Here's the blocks.
Look, man, this is still DPOY caliber to me. You know what I'm saying? He's still getting multiple blocks a game, multiple
Possible
steals
blocks.
a game. Ting. I think what this is more impactful for is just the all-time records. Like, does Jordan belong on the top 5 stealers of all time? Does John Stockton's
And possible
assists?
steals.
Is he really that untouchable with the assist from back in the day?
Now, this is the first game of my batch that's egregiously off, and interestingly, it's in both positive and negative ways.
Oh, wow.
But mostly negative. Again, the box score said 4 steals and 2 blocks, but my final count is 0 steals and 3 blocks.
So more blocks, less steals.
Possibly as many as 6 blocks.
Yeah, but he said possible is 1, and they gave him 4.
Because those 3 possible ones
Do they not know the difference between a steal and a block?
genuinely look like they may have been blocks. The 0 steals are brutal though. I'm telling you guys, I watched every minute of this game extremely closely, and I have no idea where the statistician pulled these steals from.
Yeah.
I had one lone possible steal, but if you ask me, it definitely looks like John Paxson initially deflected the ball, meaning
Yeah.
it should be his steal.
Agreed.
Now let's look at the final game of my batch. It was on February 23rd, 1988 against the Seattle Supersonics. Allegedly, Jordan had 4 steals and 2 blocks. Here's the block. The possible blocks.
Ping. Yeah, it's hard. Dude, this guy's a go at putting a video together. Genuinely, how many hours did this take to film and edit? And watch all the videos, you know what I mean? Homeboy put multiple days into this. This is my dream, dude. If I could ever become an NBA YouTuber, I dream to reach this
The
level
steals.
of achievement. Did he get 2 steals there? I would count that. Okay, I guess because he didn't get possession. But Homeboy's
And the
deflecting it
possible
twice in 1 steal. Yeah, who knows about that one?
By my actual count, this one is short, as I have MJ with 3 steals instead of 4, and just 1 block instead of 2.
Yeah.
But to be fair, I did see 2 or 3 possible blocks that may have actually been legit,
Fair.
but it's just too difficult to confirm with this low quality angle. So now that we've seen the footage of all 10 home games, what are some of my stats and conclusions? Well, first, we gotta tackle the elephant in the room, which is steals. According to the box scores, the combined total of MJ steals from these 10 games is 47, and according to my count, it's just 20. Even if you include
Wow.
all
That's a big gap.
of the quote possible steals in this video, Jordan's total only comes out to 33.
That's still a massive gap, dude.
Still falling way short of his recorded total of 47. No matter how you slice it, Jordan's steals were horrendously inaccurate.
Yeah, that's an extra, if you're generous, an extra 1.4 steals a game, which you just can't allow.
Over this 10-game sample. And this is not an insignificant sample either.
Yeah.
10 home games is roughly a quarter of the home games that were played that season, and myself and Havistro purposely selected the games where Jordan had the highest number of steals and blocks. So in reality, it's even worse than simply
Oh my
25%
gosh, you're
of
right.
the home games.
You're right.
This extremely inaccurate steals total can only mean one of 2 things. Either the statistician was purposely inflating Jordan's steals, or the statistician was so painfully incompetent that he didn't know what actually defined a steal.
Fair.
If you ask me though, it was the former. Jordan was getting his steals inflated intentionally. Because if the statistician was just generally giving out steals out of ignorance, then more Bulls players should have seen their numbers inflated, and it usually was the opposite.
That's a
In
good
some
point.
cases, guys like Rory Sparrow, Charles Oakley, and Horace Grant were not getting credited as many steals as I witnessed them get.
Wow.
Again, I believe Michael Jordan is the greatest player of all time, and I'm usually very pro-Jordan on this channel. But I'm also honest, and I'm telling you, there's no way Jordan's steals were anywhere close to accurate this season.
I respect him.
Now,
I
it is
respect
important to
him for that
mention
take.
that multiple things can be true at once. It can be true that Michael Jordan's steals were inflated, but he was also arguably the best defensive player that season.
Yeah.
Avistro's article makes it seem like his high steals and blocks were mandatory in order to win the Defensive Player of the Year in years past. But that can't be true because Dennis Rodman was the back-to-back DPOY winner just 2 years later, while not averaging a single block or a single steal.
Dang. How do you win DPOY with less than one steal and one block a game? What?
Their season. Even back then, the voters were evaluating more than simply
because of his defensive rebounding, maybe? His contests, maybe?
Surface level numbers. And saying otherwise is just being disingenuous for the sake of your argument.
Yeah.
Now let's get into the next stat, which is blocks. If there was an agenda to inflate Jordan's defensive stats, the blocks sure didn't seem like they were a part of it. The box scores indicated that MJ had a total of 33 blocks over this 10-game stretch.
Okay.
And according to my count, he had 28. The thing is, I didn't have as good of a view as the guy sitting at the scorer's table. And if you count the possible blocks, that count skyrockets to 48.
Wow.
Obviously, not all of those were legitimate blocks.
Wow.
But some of them
So this might outweigh the steal disparity.
likely were, which probably means that the box score was pretty accurate in terms of total blocks. Personally, that was easily the most impressive thing I witnessed by watching these games closely.
Facts,
As a
man.
6'6 guard, MJ was a shot blocking machine. He contested everything. Without a shadow of a doubt, I can say that I've never seen a guard cover as much ground as MJ did as a shot blocker. He was constantly lurking, waiting for his moment to strike, similar to a prime Ray Lewis in the NFL. Whatever the actual total of Jordan's blocks were, I guarantee you that he altered at least 3 times as many.
Fair.
So in conclusion, here's the things I learned in this video.
Fair.
1. Tom Habistro probably handpicked the most extreme examples.
Yeah.
2. There was a lot of truth in Tom's article, regardless of agenda.
Yeah.
3. MJ steals were definitely inflated to an insane degree. 4. Blocks were seemingly not a part of the inflation. 5. A young MJ is without question the best shot blocking guard that I've ever seen.
Yeah.
6. This video is going to make people lose their minds on both sides of the argument.
Maybe.
As far as my opinion
I
on
don't think
MJ's
so.
1988 DPOY,
It seemed pretty impartial to me.
and if he should have kept it, well, you'll have to wait for my next video, as I'm tackling who the real DPOY should have been in the 1980s.
Oh, shoot.
I also want to let you guys know that I'm not done researching these types of topics, because although we now have answers about MJ's 1988 season, it also raised a lot of questions, like just how widespread was the statistical inflation issue in the NBA. In future videos, I want to look at things like John Stockton's assists, or Alvin Robertson's record-breaking season where he averaged 3.7 steals a game, or heck, even Magic Johnson had a season early in his career where he averaged an insane number of steals, and then his numbers mysteriously declined dramatically to look much more pedestrian.
Weird.
I'll even look at some modern players and see if there's any more recent examples of statistical inflation. Again,
Good idea,
I
good
plan on
idea.
learning the truth about that in future videos. This video took a lot of energy, a lot of effort, a lot of research, and a lot of time to make. So I'd really appreciate it if you'd be willing to hit that like button on your way out, and maybe
Dude.
share it with someone who's interested
I'm
in the topic.
subscribing to this, dude.
So what do you guys think? Did MJ deserve the 1988 DPOY? And knowing what you know now, does that change the way you see basketball in any way? I look forward to hearing your thoughts in the comment section below.
It does change my view on like all-time statistics, like the John Stockton unbreakable assist records, or like just older players compared to current day players having better stats. I don't know. It does make me question it a little bit more, but I'm sure there's still mistakes present day that, like, I'm sure present day is not like, oh, we're perfect, we don't make mistakes, but it's easier to see with the footage. You can rewatch it a lot easier. So I don't know, man. One thing this video shows was how amazing of a defender MJ was. Agreed. The internet needs this type of accountability in all forms of media. Thank you for putting it together. Agreed. DPOY isn't a stat award. Stats are a factor, but not the only one. DPOY is more about overall impact. Jordan probably deserves it. Yeah, man. I don't like the fact that his steals were inflated, but I love the fact that the blocks strengthen his argument for being the greatest shot blocking guard in history. I agree, dude. Like, let me look up Michael Jordan stats real quick. Dude, we're taking a deep dive into this. Okay, his DPOY season, he averaged 3.2 steals and 1.6 blocks. So 3.2 probably really should have been, based off that 10-game sample, if it stands, should have been more like 1.4 subtracting it. So it would be 2.8, which is, I'm 1.8, which is still really good, but very, very different relative to 3.2. And the blocks are 1.6. They theoretically could have either been a little shorter or a little higher. It just depends on some of those possible shots. But either way, man, like, you look at the footage and he's clearly everywhere. He's clearly diving into every possible play. It's impressive. It's really impressive. Okay. I'm not going to watch all this, obviously, but I do want to take a deeper dive into what he thinks should have been the DPOY that year. Okay, I found where the Michael Jordan debate is. Let's go.
Class in this department, even if the rest of his team sucked.
Let's see it.
In 1988, Michael Jordan won the Defensive Player of the Year, but on my list, his cheating ass loses the award.
Whoa!
Alright, I'm kidding, he keeps it. Obviously, this award has been met with plenty of controversy in recent months, as it appears that Jordan's steals were artificially inflated at home by a biased statistician, which is a topic I covered recently in this video.
Yeah.
You look at his steals average from simply...
But he's still giving it to Jordan.
MJ went after every...
Okay. I respect it.
Was probably because this was the most motivated Michael Jordan had ever been as a defensive player, since he had just lost the race the previous year to Michael Cooper.
Okay.
And Jordan had expressed publicly that angered him and drove him to be better. He certainly wasn't a perfect defensive player, as he often gambled in the passing lanes and was often hunting for blocked shots as the help defender.
Gotcha.
With that being said, the pros far outweigh the cons. Two all-time great rim protectors in Mark Eaton and Akeem Olajuwon each had tremendous campaigns of their own. But regardless, MJ still had a better defensive plus-minus and was more historically impressive from the context of his position than these elite centers were from theirs.
Fair enough.
Without question, MJ was the most deserving candidate. In 1989,
Fair
Mark
enough.
Eaton was the defensive...
Fair enough. I can respect that. So, hey, maybe for the all-time record-keeping books, some of these stats are a little inflated. Maybe his, like, he has 3 steal titles. Maybe one of those is a little inflated. I don't know. But ultimately, I love the evidence that Johnny put forward. Let me know what y'all think about this. Let me know if you're compelled by any of this. Let me know if you still think he deserved DPOY. Let me know if this makes you change how you view some of the older historical numbers. Anyways, I did this to learn, man. To me, I think he still deserved it, dude. Y'all look at the footage. He was insane. Although I'd have to look at the footage of the other guys as well, to be fair. But either way, I trust Johnny. He did the research. He still thinks Jordan deserved it. Fair by me. Let me know what y'all think. Hope y'all have a great day, night, whatever time of day it is for you. And I'll catch you guys in the next one. Doses!